Hey, how you guys all doing?
What a busy couple of days.
It's been kind of weird. It's been kind of different. It's a little strange. It's a little kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And we're very close in this particular stream. So it's kind of fun. It's wonderful. It kind of feels like these two separate boxes are kind of like close and stuff. So so it's kind of fun. So the big secret is actually today we did go down to North York.
Yes.
We are now here in the city of Toronto, outside the city of Toronto in North York, where we attended not only the city, but we also attended the event of Billboard Press. And we'll get more into detail.
Sandwich Board Steve.
Sandwich Board Steve.
And we outnumbered Sandwich Board Steve and his rotten friends.
Yeah.
Again.
We'll definitely get into it a little bit more detail, but we get to have one special guest that joined us too, because this week has been large and insane, and we wanted to get also a perspective of some more people. And we reached out to our friend Colin Chapika
from Peterborough.
Welcome, Colin. How are you doing?
Hey, Colin.
So far, so good.
Excellent. There's been a lot of activity across
Canada,
especially on the 20th. I know you were heavily involved in regards to Peterborough, in regards to attending. I'm assuming also possibly organizing a little bit, or at least facilitating.
Yes, facilitating is probably more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, a little bit of organization as well.
Nice. And how did it go?
It went. I don't want to say like fantastic. I don't want to say like quite. It went quite well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
In terms of numbers, we did a great job of making sure that like it was at least a 3-to-1 ratio.
Great.
There's lots of talks about ratios.
Mm-hmm.
But having been to a lot of these things, these folks are clearly emboldened and clearly willing to be in it for the long stretch.
Yeah.
So, of course, right first thing in the morning at 9 o'clock, we had like at least I think probably maybe 150 people to their 40.
Great.
Which was great.
But
as the day went on, especially with it being a work day and stuff, we did start to lose some numbers and stuff like that. So it did get a little hairy closer to about noon and 1 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
But we were able to hold City Hall and make sure that they weren't able to claim the space that they wanted to. And our City Hall is right across the street from this park. And so they marched around a park, which they got no coverage of. Nobody on the street could see them, which was great.
Nice.
But that being said, this was the first time I was like quite physically assaulted at one of these things.
Oh, no.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm totally fine.
Okay.
A bit of sore ribs. Essentially, I was doing my best to disrupt their march around the park, waving my flag in their face, and then all of a sudden, these people who had coordinated T-shirts, who seemed to be kind of like a security team, they showed up, and this one gentleman, if I can call him that, just grabbed me and kind of threw me to the ground, and then threw a couple kicks into me. So nothing like too bad, like I'm fine. But it was, I'm used to the Save Canada boys shoving and pushing, but this was the first time where it was like hands-on getting me to the ground and really trying to take me out in a physical way.
That's incredible.
Wow.
It's a theme I kind of want to see if we can get a little bit more into, because your story, horrific. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to say in regards to it. As Deana holds her cast from her surgery, from a recovered tendon.
You know what kills me is that for the last 2 years almost, we've been gaslit by these same folks trying to tell us that they were peaceful during the convoy, and these are the exact same people. And so they are just explaining, like they're just proving to everybody that this is exactly what they did to the people of Ottawa, Windsor, Vancouver, like wherever they were, Coots, Alberta, like they are vile. We saw a lot of that today too. Actually, there's some edited videos that other people put out, but I got some really good video to show, like, from start to finish who the actual aggressors were, and it's always their side. Always their side.
Consistently always has been.
Yeah.
And what I don't want to say worries me, because we clearly have numbers on our side and we're clearly larger. It is just this kind of slow stepping up the staircase of escalation of they're pushing what they can get away with in front of the police.
Yeah.
I know there was a big spectacle with the Alexander boys today, and whether or not his blood was real or not, I don't want to get into that right now. But it's clear that they are working very hard to push counter protesters to a point of agitation, and they know that they have the systemic benefit of not being targeted for their physical assault.
Yeah, I full on saw this 80-year-old veteran kicking and stomping at the legs of the defenders who were just standing their ground right where they were. Like, I filmed that whole thing. That will be coming out. I've got so much footage of everything this last week that it's hard for me to keep up. But that one in particular is ridiculous. And the cops were right there. And I'm like telling the cops, like, this is what's happening. So finally they come in, and then they try to push the protesters back, saying they can't be on the sidewalk. And it's like, no, you just let this guy push into these guys. Now they're claiming that space. Like, this is how they stay safe. Otherwise, these guys keep pushing in because you're not doing anything about it. Like, it was pretty brutal. Definitely.
Right. And not to get too abstract about it, but, they clearly benefit from the structures of white supremacy and privilege and things like that. So I have really dedicated myself to not going to the cops when things like these happen, and going to fellow community members to try to at least settle the situation, because they will always have the benefit of the doubt, even if one of them gets dragged off by the cops at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The cops will do nothing at these events other than let them claim space.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. It's been a challenge in regards to, and I was a little bit concerned about Toronto too, because particularly the June 9th event is one that, as Deana will attest, that we had a lot of problems in regards to, we saw a lot of aggression from the right, attacking the left. Yeah, the left, and being antagonists and whatnot. And every time we turn around and somebody would suddenly defend, they would get suddenly taken away. And we're like, okay, you're serious? Like, this is the same person that's involved in every single incident, and you keep taking somebody else away?
Yeah.
Like, are you really missing the pattern here?
Right.
Like, intentionally? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't say that they're, intentionally missing the pattern might actually be a great way to phrase it, because I don't think the cops are interested in any way of protecting counter-protesters. I think what the cops are there for is to give a sense of quote-unquote law and order. And so I think they find the easiest way out in every situation, which is pick an instigator, and it's often one of us, and pull one of us out of the crowd. So then it looks like they've dealt with something without actually
dealing with it.
Paying attention to the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you're absolutely right, because it's if they took a little bit of time to actually.
Well, they're there. They can see it.
Yeah.
It's not even, they don't have to take the time. They can see what's going on, and they know it's the same people over and over again. Like, how many times does Josh or Nick have to leave in handcuffs before they actually get a charge and face some consequence for their behavior?
And blood.
And well, we have enough video to show that they're always the aggressors. Like, you got that one from Peterborough.
That's true. Actually, and Colin, you were featured in that one too. So I apologize that you were featured into it, but it was very much where they were like, "Oh, the Peterborough's being aggressive," and you watch them quietly behind you, and then suddenly they start I think
Like
it's hitting
punching.
you or somebody beside you.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Full on
no, no.
punching.
like
100%. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
it's like no, this is quite clear. Like they're like, oh no, all these people, all the Antifas are aggressive. Dude, here's you punching. Like
Yeah. And
What's
he
going on
smile like he gives you a smile before he like whatever. It's ridiculous. Like I got in between them a couple of times in Peterborough when they would push. And, hey, why are you guys pushing? What's up? Why are you guys pushing? Camera right there.
And then often what they will do, this is one consistent tactic that I think is very effective for them that we need to, I think, brainstorm ways of disrupting, is they will instigate violence, they will instigate the pushing and stuff, but then as soon as it starts to escalate a bit, they will pull back and then run straight to the police.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like a bunch of bitches.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for those right now listening in, if we're having a bit of issues, we apologize. Right now we're working on a somewhat improvised system. We've got microphones and everything else because we set this up at last minute to come here to actually do that.
And for anybody just joining, this is Colin from Peterborough, and Colin is pivotal in the assistance or organizing, facilitating these defense and counter protesters in Peterborough.
Yeah.
And so we have him on tonight. We're just talking about what's been going on lately, and specifically on September 20th.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what day is it?
Yeah, I'm tired. Woo.
It's 22nd, like I said, it's for people in Toronto and people like us who've gone back and forth. So the QP president, as we noticed.
Yeah, QP president was here today. Was in North York today too.
He was in North York today. He was also in Ottawa during the
Wednesday.
On Wednesday. So it was very strong support there.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so.
If I can jump in.
Yeah.
My question is for, especially with QB and unions, like I don't want to discredit the fact that they were very vocal leading up to this, and it was great to see union membership coming out to support these events. And again, I don't want to discredit that, but what I noticed in Peterborough in particular is that it wasn't necessarily QB, but it was union membership showing up for maybe about 15-20 minutes.
Oh.
And then kind of getting the photo op, saying that they were there, we did the thing, and then kind of drifting off into the background, if not leaving. So that's something that I want to just put out there to both of you and the audience, is since they have expressed very publicly that they support these causes, is I think a really important thing going forward with them is that organizers, facilitators, attendees are getting in touch with the unions and really making it clear to them how their membership can help with actual defense instead of just rallying.
And it's an excellent point. So
we didn't experience that in Ottawa.
That's what I was going to start off with, saying we didn't experience that in Ottawa. We were quite lucky in the sense of the unions were there. The unions were there the entire time of the event. The ones that left a little bit early was the politicians, obviously for a fair amount of reasons, which is expected. They were still there a fair amount of time, but the union stuck there the entire time. I mean, I remember the leader, one of the leaders of Peace Act. At the time, after the parade and whatnot, they were still there.
Yeah.
I think Han left possibly a little bit earlier.
But anyways, they were all still there.
They were all there for a significant amount of time. Today, Han was there. They came. He came late. Talked to him. They said they were busy with a whole bunch of meetings, but they showed up and then they stayed right to the end.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and I don't want to discredit any of the Peterborough Union people. You know, it was a Wednesday from 9 till 2 p.m. So, and Peterborough is smaller than Ottawa and Toronto.
But you know what? In fairness, Colin, this is my observation. They shouldn't have waited so long to do something, and not just the union. I'm talking about maybe even the union for us, for Ottawa.
But before we get into the organization, you're absolutely right, and I don't want to go into that, but I'm just saying But the unions, to finish off on what Colin said, you're absolutely right. If they showed up and there was a bit of scheduling, and it's understandable, that's one thing. But they only showed up, and you can kind of tell when it's like, you just showed up for the photo op.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's because it was too late planning, because they probably did have work that they had to do. And if this was planned earlier, people could have made arrangements to have their kids picked up or daycare or, whatever, because the Chuds had been organizing this for like 2 months. They set a date at least a month before, and then it was the same week, like within the same 7 days that the announcement came out that people were going to come out. So it could be some various reasons why they could only be there for a certain amount of time. And one of them could be because we need to not wait till the last minute to stand up to these people. Like I said from day one, I remember arguing this when the people were like, no, it's just going to be nothing or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not going to be nothing. We all need to get out, and we need to do, like, we always need to confront these guys. And I think that there was hesitation from, at least in Ottawa, that there was going to be something to this thing until it became real. And it was like, okay, it looks like this is going to be real.
I wanted to make sure we could brought this up a little bit more fully so everybody can catch up and understand. And because I agree, you're absolutely right, Deana, in regards to.
I mean, the turnout was awesome for the last minute. Can you imagine what it would be like if we planned earlier?
Particularly Ottawa. Ottawa was, and Ottawa always will be, for as long as it's been and as long as it will be. It's always going to be, if it's a national event, it's always going to be one of the center points. It's the capital. So when they decided to have Ottawa to be the big center point of the million march for kids and hate, we knew it was going to be a large turnout because it's going to be everybody in the city of Ottawa that's going to be interested in this, as well as everybody from the outside of Ottawa, because they just want to be involved in the big one. And so to counter protest it, absolutely, it's something we should have done and started, because as Deana pointed out, we started making some plans within the last month, and we did have a sort of a lead up to it. And everybody got the information in regards to this is coming up. Let's bring the information. Let's start doing planning. Let's start getting work. And Ottawa would have been probably in rougher shape if the unions, and not just Ottawa, I think a couple of the other areas probably would have been in rougher shape if they didn't get the support of the unions. Unions jumping in did a huge number. Possibly not as well in all areas.
Saved us.
In some cases, yes. They saved the location that they were showing up in. I'm not sure what the significance was in Peterborough. I don't know, Colin, what kind of turnout was Union?
Union turnout has been quite strong in Peterborough. I actually really want to commend, I can't name the union right off the bat, but there is one union organizer in Peterborough who has been coming out consistently to drag time story hour defenses.
Excellent.
And he has been working very, very hard to engage other unions to come out in active. And I would almost call him a bit of a catalyst for the leaked Zoom call. I think he is one of the people who really inspired other unions to join this to put their foot in the water of these other social causes, because I know it's been a hot labor summer, which I'm all for. But it's like, I am thrilled that we're seeing this solidarity from the unions. So I really don't want to discredit the unions, and I do think, to Joe's point, that without their support across the province, across the country,
it
could have been a lot hairier than it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, as I'm looking and thinking through this, I mean, the only group that we can call upon is something like the unions. There's no other really groups I can think of to call out for this that can come into assessments.
Sorry, Joe, to interrupt.
No, go for it.
The one in Peterborough that has also consistently shown up is the International Socialists Organization. I'm sure there's a chapter, especially in the major cities like Toronto and Ottawa. And the council, I think, it's really great that they took the initiative this time to put themselves in the forefront. But as organizers, as facilitators, and just as activists, I think, if we have that kind of time ahead of time for these movements, that we're getting in touch with them and letting them know ahead of time, like, here's how you can help.
Yes.
It's not just a rally, it's a defense.
Yes.
And this is what we want from you, because I watched that whole Zoom call and it was like so inspiring. It was so great to see.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And it scared the shit out of the chuds, which was like double whammy bonus.
Exactly, right? So I think, I'm not going to say if, but when they plan another million March for Children or whatever.
Say when.
You want to call it.
Say when.
Exactly.
If it's not this, it's something else.
Yeah, there's a convoy or something coming, right?
Exactly right. So I think as soon as we get wind of that, we need to be reaching out to QP. We need to be reaching out to the International Socialists and all these other organizations.
Yes.
I think they're waiting for
an invitation, maybe.
Exactly. And because it's also solidarity with them, because if, UAW goes on strike as they are in the States, or, as we almost saw with Unifor, I wish they did, but, I'm happy they're getting an agreement that they won. But, if we can give them a bit of direction, I think that's kind of what they're searching for, instead of having them take the initiative. And I know that's a lot to ask, especially of queer and trans organizers and activists, but especially the general community, if we could be reaching out to them ahead of time and saying, here's how you can help, here's how you can promote, and here's how to, on the day of, how to show up and actually defend, I would think we would get even more of a boost than even just like 1 month ahead of time.
Yeah.
You would absolutely get a lot of boost, because it makes me think. Sorry?
Nothing. Go ahead.
It reminds me of a sort of like, something. Somebody reminded me about people in crisis or emergencies when addressing them. It's, you can't ask open questions of like, oh, you've got a problem. You can't expect people to come in and make help. You can't ask them to, but you also can't just ask them open questions in regards to the group. Like, is there anything I can do to help? You may or may not be able to assist. So what you need to do is a bit of a closed question, like, can I do this to help you? Can I do that to help you? And that starts to help out, as well as if the organization is saying, I need help. Okay, I need help with this. Suddenly it's something tangible and something a little bit easier for them. Like, okay, well, that I know what that is. I can do that, absolutely. As opposed to, I can give you help. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure how to help you because I don't know what you need. I know you have a problem.
Well, unions are really good at organizing, though. So that it's not like...
but it could be something as simple as that. Just coming up to the union and saying...
I think Emily articulated it really well in the meeting where, they're asking for resources. They're asking for, whatever it is, that, staff to be able to organize all that other stuff. So, so I think that was really great. And don't forget, a lot of union members are also activists in everything that's going on too. So I think it's just timing. That was my only issue. Maybe it's different in Peterborough, and you guys are more experienced with dealing with the FASH because it's been happening for over a year now. Or you guys,
I think I'm on 2 at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So I think everybody looking to each other, and I think that's what's happening. We're all connecting now, and it's great to see. Like, I think you brought something up. I'm going to say it real quick because I think we have to bring up the other guests soon. But you had said about the trans folk. What I want to say is, after seeing the disgusting, vile behavior and words and actions from these million March for Children, and watching their children behave the way that they behaved, towards trans folk, towards trans children or young trans people who were there. Like, we're going to play a video later that is going to break your heart. It pissed me right the fuck off. And it's like all of them did. This one in particular, you're going to see some... You blurred out their faces and stuff, right?
I didn't.
Okay, we're not playing it.
We're not playing it.
We're not playing it. I'm sorry. We'll play it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But trans people have gone through so much in the last 3 months that we need to listen to them on how they, want to deal with this. But we also need to start really showing up, because they have been under assault, and especially the last couple of days.
So,
especially, it was disgusting. I'm so disgusted. That's the only word. I'm so disgusted with what I've seen these human beings doing to other human beings, and they're vile.
So
they should be ashamed.
Before we get into more of that, one of the stories because we went through a lot of the stories that we generally do through our Wednesday show, and we kept most of them out. We did keep one. I'm going to show it to all of us as well as the audience. Again, this one's a bit of a trigger warning for those who haven't seen this yet. This is in regards to an assault on a transgender child out in Nova Scotia. So if you're familiar with the story, you're familiar with what's going on. But for those who are not, be warned, this can be very, very difficult to watch.
This next story comes with a warning. Some viewers may find the
images you're about to see disturbing. A Cape Breton middle school student is speaking out tonight after a violent incident outside her school that was caught on camera. Here's CTV's Ryan McDonald.
It's a video that's difficult to watch, and for 11-year-old Raven McLean, it was an experience that was even more disturbing.
He threw me on the ground and kind of stomped on my head.
The attack happened Wednesday outside Malcolm Monroe Memorial Middle School. The grade 6 student says she was targeted because she is transgender.
All that's going through my mind is how scared I am and humiliated I am, because this is in front of almost every other kid in my grade.
I have not brought myself to watch it. I'm told that I really shouldn't.
Caitlin Howell feels the attack on her daughter hasn't been taken seriously enough by school staff. She says she met with a school official, but only learned of the severity of what happened after someone else brought the video to her attention.
They just didn't seem to want to take action on it. They seem to want to hide it more than anything.
In a statement to CTV News, the Cape Breton Victoria Regional Centre for Education said the incident is being addressed, explaining in part, "We can confirm administrators are responding to the unacceptable behavior in accordance with the Provincial School Code of Conduct policy."
I'm just scared now and really just sad that this happened.
The family contacted police about the incident, who confirmed they are investigating. Though she escaped serious injury, Raven and her mom say she won't be returning to the school.
Because I just don't want to go back there anymore, and now I'm going to become homeschooled.
Meanwhile, other parents concerned about the incident are asking the school for a town hall meeting to address bullying behaviors. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney River, Nova Scotia.
So,
these kids that were emboldened enough to beat the crap out of this child are what we saw all over Canada, spewing the garbage that they were spewing, given microphones at 5, 6, 7 years old to say the vile, disgusting crap. Their mothers cheering them on, getting them to do this. And then now they're back in school with vulnerable children. These people need to be ashamed of theirs. And of course they're not. They're going to continue because we hear them. We just 2 days later, after all over social media, everybody is seeing how vile these parents made their own children and embolden them to behave that way in front of the world. They full on knew that this was going to be public. It was going to be on social media. They loved it. It was disgusting. They're inhumane. They're animals.
Sorry, Deana, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, cut me off. I'm on a rant.
As someone who's non-binary myself, sorry, I'm just taking a deep breath after watching that.
Take as much time as you need. That's not a problem.
That's the point. The point is to put it on camera. The point is to normalize this. I mean, so many adjectives come to my mind, and we all know what they are. But the point is to shift the window of acceptance in what is tolerated behavior. And this is something I did want to bring up. I mean, clearly this is a Canadian problem. This is a problem within our own country. And I'm not trying to make the claim that this is imported from the United States. But as someone who I'm working on my dissertation on focusing on the far right and far right research, the U.S. is a good. I mean, good is the wrong word.
The right example?
Yeah, it is an example. And we have seen this. I mean, Florida, you can take it as a case study in and of itself. And the goal of these movements, saying it's parental rights, saying it's we disagree with curriculum, these are all just wedge issues to normalize acts of violence against my community, the trans community, the queer community. And I think as great as it is that everyone shows up with their signs, we really do need to be taking care of the fact that when trans and queer people see this, not just protests, but the violence, that we're paying attention to them.
Yes.
And that we are checking in with them
yes.
after these things are happening. Because obviously it's disturbing, but I can't imagine being 9, 10, 11, 12 years old and seeing that over dinner. It's on the TV. Parents are watching CTV News. So I guess, sorry, I'm just a little rattled. But
I mean, we need to, like, you know, I'm a little rattled, but not in the same way. And
I am. I have a child, and there's no fucking way I'd be able to handle the fact that my child was foot stomped on the fucking head.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, but even still, you and I would still not be rattled the same way as somebody who's in that community that sees themselves as the victim. Like, we know you'd be rattled and you'd be out there rattling heads. But somebody who doesn't have a mother like you may feel different after seeing and observing that experience. And I'm just trying to think of if I'm understanding what Colin was kind of expressing.
Well, it's like, so the video that I did want to play, we just didn't have time. There was so much, but we're not going to play it until we blur out the faces that are in that video. So we're going to play it on Wednesday. That's on the schedule. Okay.
I can't get away right now, so
it is. It turned out that it was a friend of mine. Like, we ended up going back. We found that we did the march out of the downtown core or whatever, the Parliament. We went to our meeting place. We sat around for a bit and found out that there was another person and down there and said that there were defenders still there. I'm like, what the fuck are there defenders still? Not defenders, excuse me, counter protesters there. And it was a late bunch. And I didn't know that it was my friend that I had spoken to earlier, telling her we're not going to be on the Parliament side. We are going to be on the South side, whatever. But they ended up going after and didn't know where we were. So they went up on the hill. So they were right in the thick of it, in the middle of all of these fucking fascists standing there, holding their ground. But if you see the way that they were treated, the way that the kids were chanting, it was like it hurt me. Like I felt shocked by it, that I called my friend back because we realized it was her. She had her flag ripped off of her by these fucking assholes. Are we showing that clip?
No, I didn't get
Okay. Had the flag ripped off of her. Another one of my friends that she doesn't know went and ran after them, grabbed the flag, tussled with it. Then they ripped the flag out of her hand again. She went for it again. This stuff I had no idea. We were like, as soon as we found out that there were still counter protesters there, I was like, and everybody agreed, we got to go back. Like, we can't leave them there. They can't be there by themselves. We need to document. We need to at least have cameras on them to make sure that they're okay, and stand with them, right? And so by the time we got there, they start marching out because all this commotion had happened. But then I watched it on somebody else's live stream. And I called my friend right away and I'm like, you need to check in on everybody. Like, I'm looking at their faces as this was going on. And they stood there and took that assault for about an hour that I know of. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm fucking pissed. I am super pissed. And we need to fucking get a handle on this. This is not Canadian. This is disgusting. It's absolutely vile and disgusting, and they relish in it, which makes it even more disgusting. They are relishing in their toxicity, their hatred towards other human beings. In the same moment, they're saying, we don't hate you. We don't have a problem with you. But then the next second, we're hearing them saying, gay people are psychotic. They're disgusting. Where's that kid learning that from? Would say something like that. He didn't learn that at school. He didn't learn that anywhere else but at home. Anyway.
And I just what to add to that. I guess this is a plea to whoever's watching right now. I'm sure because you're watching, you're paying a lot of attention to what's going on. And especially with what happened in Toronto today and what happened nationwide on Wednesday. Especially if you're cis het straight, there's at least one person who you know who is trans, who is queer. Send them a message on Twitter, Facebook, however you know them, and just simply ask them, are you okay? And let them know. Because it's easy to see numbers in a picture. It's easy to quote ratios. Peterborough was 3-1. Whitby was not 3-1. But these are all individuals, especially the young people. But the adults too. Like, I'm an adult too, and I'm still reeling from what happened on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And as someone who has, to go to a bit more of an abstract level, this is how, quite literally, fascism works. This is the stages of isolation that we have all learned in grade 9 or 10 history class. It's about picking a group, slowly but surely passing legislation that isolates them from society and then keeps them out of public service and then keeps them out of social interaction. And so I know I'm probably preaching to a choir, but it's really important. I guess the point I really want to make is it's really important that you're checking in with these vulnerable people. And I get that it might be a little weird for a cis-het straight person to reach out to a queer or a trans person and just say, like, hey, I'm worried about you. I hope you're doing okay. But
no, and as a cis straight het person who should be doing this more and possibly hasn't, I will be the first one to say, no, I should be doing that. Because you know what? It's not a big ask. A big ask is some of the stuff that Deana have gone to and done. We've done a couple of big things. You know, not everybody's going to be comfortable to go to some of these events. So large and scary and whatnot. You know, not everybody go to the front line and yell face first, you know, to convoys. I leave that to this one right here.
I think everybody has their place. Like the people who are holding the flags, who are blocking.
There's like, that, but
people who are on the inside, like, and adding numbers.
But beside even that, this is sort of the easiest. Any friends, I think that is in the queer community, whether it be transgender or LGBTQ or whatnot, all you need is call and check. And even I will admit, I may not have done that with everybody, and I need to do that. And to where I think is Colin, I'm going to point out as wrong is yes, you are preaching to the choir, but it's not a broken record. This is stuff that we may not always be thinking about, and thank you for reminding us to do that.
Yep. There's also people, Colin, and I'm speaking from experience, that are just tuning in to what's going on, and so it has to be repeated. And like, I'm stopping people in the mall, asking them if they know, do you know what's happening tomorrow, which was Wednesday, and they're like, no. And they were part of the queer community, and they didn't know that this was happening, right? And so there's a lot of people who are not don't know what's happening and don't know how severe it is. And they even, like, I even had someone say that I was fanatical, and I thought that was hilarious, because I'm like, right, I could see you thinking that because you're on the outside looking in as somebody who doesn't really know what's going on. But I have actual literal friends whose lives are in danger, who are teachers, who are in the trans and queer community, who are protecting the trans and queer community. Like, I have invested enough brain power to fully try to grasp what the fuck is happening right now in our world, and there needs to be a response. And so to people who are just coming in, who don't realize that we are at, the brink of full-on fascist takeover, like we see in the United States, like we see the wave sweeping. Are we off or something?
I'm not sure what happened here.
Can you still hear us, Colin?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay. I'm just going to check the Twitch because we're not seeing anything. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Like you can see taking over the map, the world. No. Like, fanatical would be me planning bombs in banks and shit like that. What I'm doing right now is just showing up and telling people what the hell is going on, and standing in the front lines if I have to stand in the front lines, being the distraction so people can get out of dangerous situations, all of those things. And if you think that's fanatical, no problem. I don't give a shit. What do you need to do to save a person's life? Like, we are literally saving people's lives right now, and I don't even think we're doing that great of a job at it, to be honest. Like, cis, hetero people, we're not doing a good enough job. I'm not putting the pressure on anybody from the community, because it's like they're trying to defend their own lives. But we need to fucking wake up and get out there and shut this shit down. And and push our governments. Like this rhetoric that's coming out of our politicians today in Toronto, the school board hasn't even spoken out against this, hasn't spoken out in favor of the LGBTQIA2S plus community. Like nothing, silence. You cannot fucking be silent about this. Like make your position known so that we know what we need to do when it comes time for election, or what before election, what we need to do to make sure that you are protecting our communities.
And just to like, I completely agree with absolutely everything you've just said. It is really important to show up because, like you said, these actions do save lives. And I think part of showing up, not that I'm trying to ask any more of both of you, but what also might save a life is getting in touch with that trans or queer person.
Yep.
That you
Agreed.
know, and asking them if they're
Yes.
okay, and just letting them know that they're loved and that they are accepted, because it's again, as someone from the community, it has been really taxing, and really as someone who both shows up physically and mentally, it has been. I mean, my ribs still hurt from getting kicked in the ribs, but also like my heart really hurts right now. So sending that message, and you know, I don't mean to just keep harping on this, but it is really important that both in the moment and offline, online, that we are checking in with trans and queer folk to make sure that, you know, they know that they are supported, even if it's not by a political party, even if it's not by a, you know, well, they have been supported by unions, but you know, and to that point, you know, especially with the Conservative Party, the Toronto District School Board, we haven't seen them come out. I mean, with the Conservative Party, we've seen the opposite. So I would plug a little bit of an anarchist idea and say we need to be building what we call parallel networks and parallel structures to government, because in the same way that, you know, the people of New Orleans couldn't rely on the government after Hurricane Katrina to take care of themselves, because that's not what the government is for. What we really should be focusing on is building parallel structures that support local communities, so that we have people instead of bureaucracy to turn to as things get worse.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I got one little particular story here before we lead on to September 20th, which is something that somebody told me, and it kind of, after they told it to me, it made my head kind of calculate a bit in regards to response, because, and this kind of brings into a little bit more, which was they said, you know, the stuff I'm doing right now is it's kind of part of a sort of bubble echo chamber. Like it's just kind of like a small thing. I'm like, that's awesome. But the problem is this bubble echo chamber that they think we're kind of living in, that's kind of small and whatnot, it's having some significant consequences right now. I mean, they're like, oh, well, you know, there's just kind of a small thing, or as a protest drag story times and whatnot. It's this bubble thing. I'm like, all right, cool. They're in the school boards now trying to make those changes to reading curriculums. And in some places, it's working. They're trying to make changes in regards to health and so on and so forth. And in some places, it's working. So as much as you're thinking, I'm living the bubble in regards to these issues, that bubble is getting a little significant. And I'm sorry to say, that bubble is about to include the entire country if certain political parties take over in the next federal election, to a very damaging way.
Yep.
Well, and I'm certain that a large majority of us feel very disaffected by federal politics. I was a Justin Trudeau supporter during his first term, and I was like painfully optimistic that the change that I wanted to see would come. But if you're feeling that sense of disaffection and worry, concern about these big level changes, three of us on a Twitch stream are not going to stop the Conservative Party from winning the next election. But three of us,
come on!
I know we can try.
You just crushed her hope, and like that's a huge penalty there, right there.
Well, and here's the redemption: is three of us on a Twitch stream will influence a school board decision, will influence a city council decision, will influence what it means to show up to Drag Time Story Hour.
So if I could take that example, that means we just need more Twitch streams.
Exactly. That's all. Okay. Twitch has got the answer.
Exactly. I can work with that. But we're gonna move forward over to, because as the
timekeeper.
The timekeeper is pointing me out that we have a couple of other stories to cover, including September 20th. So we got a couple of clips here in regards to September 20th we want to go through.
Yeah.
As soon as I remember how to do this a second ago. Right. Give me a second here. For some reason, I've lost everything. That's not the one I want. That's right. I'm doing this blindly now. So this is Ottawa. With the introduction during the whoops, give me a second here. So that was Jagmeet Singh coming in, and give me a second here. This is going to lose us for 1 second because I'm apologizing for the interface. We should all be back. Apologies there, everybody, but welcome back. Okay. So where were we at?
We were going to show September 20th.
We just did. Yes. I'll bring this back again here. So we were looking at September 20th. So yes, Jagmeet Singh here was at the main event. But that's not right here. He was leading the protest for Ottawa as this is where we're going to have disagreement between Deana and I. It turned out, at least the numbers that we're getting from the main information sources, there was about 500 plus protesters, about 500 counter protesters versus 750 protesters on the Hill. One of the reasons why it looked like it was less of the protesters, but especially myself when I thought when we got there it was much more, is because the Hill gives a deceiving angle. And once I saw a couple other videos, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that now looks correct. So it was still significant, and we were still successful enough.
We were all adults on our side. We were all age of majority. They brought a bunch of 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds to fill their numbers. So we counted like 5 children with 2 mothers, in one instance, and so on. So no, we were definitely the majority. We were definitely louder than they were. We were way well organized than they were. If we all brought our children, holy crap. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to, I specifically left my daughter at home knowing that it was going to get out of control, and it did. And the children were part of the reason why it got out of control on top of that. Yeah, anyways. Do you have another video?
I do. So, especially, even though we were a smaller group, we were apparently a significant group. And at least for the city of Ottawa, this is one of the things we saw.
We're going to start getting ready to figure out how we're going to get out of here for our march. We marched at 11. There is a massive front of us. Police have allowed the counter-protesters to take over the entire street in front of Parliament, then basically corralled us in. All right, so we were told by police that they would try to keep the counter-protesters west of Parliament, and they would keep the street clear. Instead, they've let the entire crowd of counter-protesters come and corner us into the hill. So I don't know how they're going to manage that when we try to march. Police were well aware, they were well aware of our route, and they've let these counter-protesters fill the street, illegally, by the way.
Illegally, by the way.
Daisy's such a fucking turd. Like, what a turd.
Please don't hold back.
The guy's so stupid.
I mean,
I thought it wasn't illegal to stand and protest, Daisy. You say that to the cops every fucking day of your damn life. You whine and yell and scream that it is your civil liberty, your right to peaceful assembly. And now you're saying that because we're doing it, it's illegal? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, stop being such a fucking dink. Stop, like, I don't know if you're trying hard to be a fucking idiot goof who doesn't realize that everything that comes out of your goddamn mouth is a goddamn hypocrisy, or if you're just that dumb and, like, you don't even, like, think before shit comes out of your goddamn mouth. You're ridiculous. Like, I've got so many other words for you, but that's what I'm going to use for you today, is you're ridiculous. You're straight up ridiculous. And you weren't corralled and you weren't stuck there. In fact, I also have footage of me wondering where you guys were going. And then you went off around. We were held where we were. We weren't planning on going anywhere else. We wanted nothing to do. Like, we didn't have the same tactic that you had, Colin, in Peterborough. We weren't trying to take up their space. We were trying to show them that we are here too. And it was made very clear by the organizers that we aren't there to protect establishments. We are there to protect community. And both ways of doing it, I see value in both, and they both make sense.
They both bring a message. Absolutely.
They do. And so the counter protesters in Ottawa had zero issues when it came to the law. Nobody was arrested. People listened. When we were asked to step back, the organizers came around and made sure that everybody was stepping back, and we were where we needed to be. It's not like they kept pushing us back. They just told us where we needed to be. And sometimes, when you get excited, you take a couple steps forward, and then the line somehow starts moving up, and then they would make sure we were back. And the funniest part of it is, dumb fuck Daisy, is that it was after we all left that y'all started getting arrested. We weren't even there to agitate you anymore. And y'all started getting arrested. Because you're that fucking stupid.
Don't have that clip ready.
You want to get it ready, or you didn't put it up?
I can't. No, I don't have it ready.
It's okay.
Well, that's part of the grift, right, Deana?
What's that?
That's part of the grift.
But how can people be so goddamn stupid and send money to stupid? Like, who pays stupid?
Stupid.
Oh, that sounds stupid. I think I'm going to put money towards it. Like, oh, they were illegally protesting. Didn't you guys fucking just torture an entire country for 3 weeks saying that it's legal to be out and doing shit? And now you're like, oh, that massive crowd, they're hurting our feelings. They're so loud. They're illegally there. Like, fuck off. Gaslighting pieces of shit. Yeah, like, I can't even. I'm so tired. It's exhausting. Are they exhausted by being stupid? Or do they get fuel out of being stupid? I have no idea.
Are we all getting exhausted by... And this is something I've I've kind of noticed in regards to and feeling, and I even bring this out to as many people out here as possible. We've all dealt we dealt with conflicts in many different ways. Some of us through social media, whether it be Twitter, TikTok, anything else. In person, in some other cases, protests and activities. And even after about a year plus of this, we're still seeing the same ass hattery in regards to the messaging. It's like, well, I just want to talk, and then within 5 minutes you realize, no, you want to proselytize whatever the hell you're saying. You're just one way direction. You're talking about stuff that is not grounded in reality.
It's not even one way direction. It's in all directions.
No.
Like all over the place.
It's the source material from all directions. But my point is, they're trying to have the conversation in one direction towards you.
Yeah.
Trying to change what you are saying.
Yes.
And they don't care about the fact that
facts be damned.
Facts be damned. Like my version of the reality, which is based on, I don't know, 3 lines of cocaine or whatever the hell it is. And that's it. That's all I know, and that's all I see.
That's it.
Yeah. That's all I know. That's all I see. That's all I can understand. And anything you give me that's concrete evidence to show that, or even pointing out, like, I believe that, that kids' genitals are being mutilated within schools, and just pointing out, like, it's a school, you realize. Like, there's no surgical rooms in schools. There's no medical facilities. The logistics of that just seems horrifying, and you think that without, like, no, that's the wrong thing being done, and that's nobody else would have.
It's just that they go all over the place, like they don't make any sense. By the end of today's protest, we had a fucking idiot yelling at us about how abortion is killing babies. What the fuck does that have to do with why we are there?
I mean, there's like a great academic argument about, as we know, it's all connected. These Christian nationalists connect with use wedge issues to drive. But to this point of like the confusion of, it's coming from all directions, but it's very one direction. I agree with both of you. You hear these, it's, litter boxes in schools, and it's weaponized disinformation. And I just I saw someone, I believe it's Oi Polloi in the chat, has said this is part of the fascist playbook. And that's exactly what it is. It's about destabilization of reality. So something I have seen, and I'm not trying to discredit any activist or anyone who shows up and, spends their time engaging with these people in honest conversational and rational argumentation. But I just want to maybe remind those people that the people who are showing up to these events are not arguing in good faith. They're
not. You're not going to change their mind at a protest,
because if they are there, they've already, this is an adversarial context, and there's no way you're going to change someone's mind, even if they give you like I saw, a counter protester and a protester have a conversation for an hour in Peterborough on Wednesday, and they hugged each other at the end of it. Fantastic. But still, at the end of the day, both people on either side believe in fundamentally different perceptions of reality. And all of these issues, parental rights is like the newest wedge issue. They tried trans people in sports. It didn't really work in Canada. I know the Conservatives are trying it, but these are all wedge issues to bring up the question of the legitimacy of the existence of trans people in particular. And as if they succeed in that, it will be gay people next. And then it will be Jewish people, and then it will be Black people, and then it will be Indigenous people.
They're moving fast, though, Colin?
Yes, they are moving fast. They have a good example down south of how to break down each of these walls. Because we saw Roe versus Wade get itself turned over.
Yeah.
In the span of really, I know it's been for the Christian nationalists, it's been a 40-year campaign. But in terms of people, the popular support for overturning Roe versus Wade, that's only within the last 2 or 4 years. So what I really want to emphasize, especially to the viewers, is we are at a point now where things are really accelerating at a very fast pace.
Yeah.
And unless we both show up on the streets, but also do those things like building parallel networks to government to support each other, things like mutual aid. We can't
Yeah.
rely on the government. We can't rely on. I'm glad Jagmeet Singh was there to lead a protest, but Jagmeet Singh already came out and said, well, I believe that parents have the right to understand what's going on. He's already buying into the argument because, he's playing a game in and of himself. We need to.
We don't have time for games, eh?
We don't have time. We don't have time for games, and that's why I think really focusing on local organization and local action, and really connecting with the people in your neighborhood, on your city council, is the best way to throw up even more walls to prevent this acceleration from happening.
You're not wrong, especially since, and I'm going to even just think back in regards to the past year Dean and I have been experiencing. The right is already ahead of us. They've been overthrowing school boards. They've been going into, other local boards to do all sorts of chaos.
Right, because they know the power of locality. Like, they know the power of, like, municipal governments and schools.
They've been trying to get people as trustees.
Yes.
They know that if you get them there, then you can get from trustees to local government, and then eventually to mayor, and then eventually that builds up to a more provincial, and then you've taken over the entire system.
Right, and that was the Conservative Policy Convention. They were, they passed these anti-trans policies, and they claim it's from the grassroots. And frankly, it was from the grassroots. These are the people who, for the last 5-10 years, have been working to build a portfolio, to build a resume, so that they can get elected as trustee, so that it grants legitimacy because these people hold positions of power.
Yeah,
and the left is, frankly, right now not in a position to reoccupy those spaces. I think we took it for granted that things were going to get progressively better and better and better, instead of realizing that, much in the same way as the civil rights movement, both post-slavery in the United States and even post-1960, post-Martin Luther King, saw a huge backlash. And I think we really need to be focusing our attention on how to not only, I'm not saying we need to take a page out of their playbook and, elect trustees and stuff, but recognize that locality and grassroots movements really do hold the key to preventing our worst fears.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. The localities is one of those things that people ignore so much, but it's the localities that have so much an effect on people's day-to-day lives. Your public transit, which is something that most people are dependent upon, that has nothing to do with some of the larger ones. It's not going to do anything with the federal government. It's little to do with short of financing in regards to the provincial governments. The whole thing costs work. It has a lot to do with your locality in regards to building and planning and engineering and maintaining it. So there's absolutely a lot to do with your locality, and because of that, getting people in your locality to be the right people makes a huge effect, and B, that still bubbles up so much.
I want to read a comment and I agree with this 100%. So it's from Irish Mythology. The East Meets West Save the Children convoy is coming to Ontario. It is likely to be bigger than what we saw on Wednesday in Ottawa and Ontario. We need to get ahead of this and not leave planning to the last minute. It is not even clear if the police will be ready for them.
They won't.
So, yeah, well, and we always plan... We always plan with the idea that we protect us, right? We don't rely on the police to protect us. If they're there and they happen to protect us, great. But we also just had a full-on conversation of the fact that they're not really there to protect us. So, yeah, I agree 100%. Starting today, we need to be planning for when these people come. So I think Joe and I are going to do some work like we did with the Chris Elston in Ottawa. We're going to put out probably a couple of well thought out videos, not just, your quick TikToks that are coming out. We'll do like a real, something. And I'm going to pound the pavement again. We're going to put up our posters. We're going to go out to talk to everybody. This is not.
There's a second point I also wanted to make in regards to Ottawa, and this is something I want to make sure it hopefully rings to as many as possible. Chris Elston in Ottawa was, when he came June 9th, was about 200 to 300 defenders.
They did not have 300. They had like 120.
No, defenders.
Oh, us. We were 400. Yeah. Yes.
200 to 300 defenders.
We were 400.
Even 400.
We were 400.
My defender number is not the point. That's what they had. We had.
I still care about ratios no matter what, Colin.
I, on the other hand, I'm looking for sure. Yeah, the ratio I'm looking at is not that one.
Yeah,
they had 100 protesters that showed up, and then 3 months later, they're doing the next one. It's about 750. That's the ratio that's got me a little concerned, because they've jumped from 100 to 750. Well, if you hold their pattern, what the hell's the next one? And are we going to be even close to handle that?
Well, there is something that came out of September 20th that I think needed to happen, something I was aware was going to happen because I am also part of a community, and it is the Arab Muslim community. And I am very aware of the culture that comes from some people who, are still close to what they're used to back home, right? And the bigotry and my dad was a bigot, okay? It's not, my dad was an Arab man. That's how I know how to handle Arab men. That's how I knew how to make those faces. That's how I know how to trigger Arab men. It's like you can see. I mean, that men are men. Doesn't matter. They don't have to be Arab. I get it. I'm not all. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. The angry, toxic masculinity that we see. So, I knew what was coming. We had to see it out loud. I'm working on something. I've told Joe, I've told a couple people, I'm not going to announce it here. You guys will see it after I've put it out. To the people who need to see it first. To the leaders who need to speak up on behalf of Muslim people, and they need to condemn what we just fucking saw all over the country. And I'm hopeful that once, enough pressure is put on to the leadership within the Islamic community, and enough of their eyes watching their own community destroy the fucking work that we have done in this country to remove the stigma of Muslims being inherently violent. But then here's what I noticed. I'm watching the right wingers, their live streams, and they make sure It's like 1980 all over again. They make sure in their glee of what they're seeing to say, look what the Muslims are doing. Look what the Muslims are doing. And when the Muslims are behaving in such an atrocious or extreme way, they're like, look what the Muslims are doing. But then when the white guys or the convoy guys are doing it, they're not saying, oh, look what it is. They're hiding that video, right? They're trying to keep quiet what's happening, what these guys are doing. So there is like other shit at play here that people aren't paying attention to. And so Muslim leadership, you better pay attention, because this is by design. They're not finished. Like, this is fucking by design. And like I said in a last post, the subtle, it ain't so subtle to me at all.
Right. And just assalamu alaikum to all of, especially to you, Deana. And we see the same.
Malaikum wassalam.
And we see the same thing with gays against groomers, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's a very similar thing where it's, fascists in particular are willing to pick and choose their allies.
Yep.
They're, when it supports them, when it benefits them, totally on board for it. But then we know that at the back of their minds, that as soon as they get one step into the door and maybe two steps into the door, who's next?
Yeah.
And we know who's next. It's the Islamic community. It is the queer community.
But the gags are just going to go and say, well, see, it was the trans people's fault. And like, they will never, ever, ever assume responsibility for the role that they played in this destruction. It's so mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, so it's an excellent point too, in regards to the machine that needs the hate. Even if it gets satisfied with one particular hate that it consumed and completely consumed it, it's still going to need to hate something else.
Yep.
And it's going to confine something else. So it goes in and consumes the entire trans community. Cool. You think she's done eating? No. It's going to find something else.
Yeah.
Go to drag. It'll go to
poor people.
It'll go to poor people. As we're starting to see right now, and I'm seeing the echoes of hate, not just to LGBT and trans, to drag and trans, but it's echoing out to LGBTQ in regards to the hatred towards Soji. If you're listening enough, you're like, that goes beyond just Soji, because you hear the rhetoric and you hear them going. The quiet part is they're starting to get a little audible in regards to it's the whole community that they're having a problem with, and they're just touching it but not hiding it well enough. They're coming out and saying like, yeah, we want the whole thing gone because it's just wrong to us. I'm like, just, if you don't like homosexuality, don't indulge in homosexuality. Problem solved.
I mean, this is the fascist idea of degeneracy, right? And this is, we have seen over the past 3 to 5 to 7 years them playing with this idea of degeneracy. Who can we pinpoint as the focal point of degeneracy of our society? And to both of your points, it's now we're at the point where it's, it's at least for them, trans people and non-binary people like myself, they have a crowd who's willing to accept that this is a sign of a degenerate society. And that's only the beginning. This is only the beginning for them.
You know what a degenerate society is? People who stand out there and like lie and yell at it, like at innocent people who are just standing trying to show that they exist. Like that's all I saw. That's all I see. People standing there just saying I exist and I should be valued and I should not be not only ignored but pushed aside or pushed away. And I am a reality, so I should be included in everyone's reality.
And I don't mean to get bogged down. Like, I'm not saying that we're getting bogged down. It is very clear that they're coming after these very, distinct communities. But as someone who has really studied this stuff, I'm in the final year of my PhD on fascism in Canada.
Yay!
Thank you.
You're awesome, Colin, by the way.
When you succeed, because we know you will, let us know because we want to enjoy the celebration with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I will definitely let you know. If I behave myself, I'll be done in a matter of months. And this may be a little bit more abstract, but the whole point of all of this, the whole point of fascist movements, of targeting distinct communities, is to maintain the status quo. Which is resources, especially in Canada, it's resource extraction, the theft of indigenous lands for the point of maintaining as much capital as possible and, building your profit year after year. So instead of having conversations about why Doug Ford is sitting on a multi-billion-dollar surplus, we're having conversations about why teachers are lying to parents, and instead of having a conversation about why Doug Ford isn't funding the education system.
Right.
So the whole point of all of this, and Maxime Bernier kind of exemplifies this perfectly, is, it's the same way with labor back in the 1920s. They would bring in racialized labor, either whether it was Black, Chinese, or whoever. The idea was if we can kind of shift attention away from these, Marxist arguments against private property and owning the means of production towards, well, these people are taking my jobs, or these people are ruining education because teachers are withholding information from parents, instead of having the actual conversation of why are we fundamentally underfunding healthcare, education, and all of these other things, which are socialist ideas.
Why very few people have everything.
The thing is every time you bring up fair wages for any of these sectors, these poor white folk who are part of the convoy just want to, they don't realize that if we all fight together for everybody to get a fair wage, their turn is coming. It's for all of us. When we stand in solidarity with teachers to get a proper benefit, wage, whatever, but all they can say is they get paid so much already, and it's like, no, they actually don't. And in today's economy, everybody should be demanding more because those top folks are hoarding the wealth. So why would government workers, why are they going on strike? They make so much money anyway. Well, actually, the ones that were going on strike were barely clearing $30,000 a year. Who can fucking live off of $30,000 a year? Unless you're a teenager, because $30,000 a year is $15 an hour, which is minimum wage. They can't see the bigger picture, and so they do fall into that trap that you're talking about, Colin. So because that's what the machine wants. It wants people to resent other people for being able to, move forward instead of everybody, putting their hand out and lifting each other up so that we can all come up together and meet those assholes at the top of their fucking castle and say, no, we're not all going to fight amongst ourselves to live while you fucking hoard all the wealth. They honestly, they can't see the big picture. They just have to hate everybody. They hate on everybody.
Right.
And they distrust everybody.
Exactly. And I think one of the more abstract reasons why we're seeing this rise of hate and targeting of this, the trans community, but of course it's going to be the queer community, it's going to be the indigenous communities whose lands we are on, it's going to be the Muslim community, is we are facing a crisis of capitalism. Capitalism realizes right now that if it keeps going the way it is, the entire planet will be destroyed. So in order to direct attention away from that issue, this is why we're seeing this very quickly progressing ideology of trying to divide the working class in order to prevent them from organizing and actually like tackling these issues.
Yeah. Oh, Colin has an echo.
Might be from one of us. I thought bringing down the volume would have worked.
Is it better now?
It's totally her.
I'm sorry, I've been echoing the whole time.
No, it's not you. It's not you.
It's because we're listening to the laptop and we're wearing microphones. So the laptop talking, you talking, is going into our microphones. Still happening? Do we have to have our microphones?
Well, even if we go to the little basis, it could be the same problem.
Was he echoing this whole time? You cover your microphone.
Well, I'll cover my microphone.
Now does Colin say something?
Down with the capitalist class.
Is it still echoing? Oh, better? Yes? Yes, echo the whole time. Deana, you were really loud. No kidding, Lady Blue Noser. I'm always.
Have you met her? I'm right beside her. I'm losing hearing in this ear.
I'm going to put the microphone 10 feet away from me.
Well, no, it's going to be close to the speaker.
I know. I got to go here. How about this?
Sorry, folks.
Does that work? Is that better? Finally. Aww. I'm okay with that.
You broke Tina.
I know who I am. Hey, you know what happened today? So we're at the protest. I'm in disguise, and I turn and I see a Muslim woman with her hijab on, and I saw her face, and I'm like, I know her, Joe. I'm in Toronto. And I was like, I gotta go say hi. So I ran over and I said, what is your name? And they're like, why? And here I am all like, you can't even tell who I am. So I was like, oh, sorry, I am. And I said, I'm Deana. And I said, I think we went to Muslim camp together.
There were silicone masks involved.
And then I said, I'm this person's cousin. And she's like, oh my God, and then, she said her name. And I was like, oh, whatever. We hadn't seen each other. Holy crap, how old was I? I was probably 15 or 16, so it's been 30 years, but she still has the same face. I probably do too, but she wouldn't have been able to tell. Anyway, and she was standing on our side. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And this person is in the area, obviously. And the way that I knew that it was them is because I knew that they lived in the Toronto area because we used to come up and my cousin lived in Mississauga, and then the camp was between Toronto and Ottawa. And I went to Muslim camp 3 years in a row, I believe, and she was there each time. So I just thought it was so nice, and I just want to share that story that a visible Muslim woman is, standing with us in counter protest of these fascists that are coming to town. So I know that a lot of people are seeing the visible Muslims, even though they're only like about a third or a quarter of the crowd that's out there. The right wing is purposely putting them front and center, like I said, in their videos, in their things, and saying, look what the Muslims are doing, look what the Muslims are doing, and giving them a whole lot of airtime. Because there are other things at play here. So, there are many Muslims, visible and non-visible Muslims, who are on the side of human rights. And that includes everyone. That includes the trans community, the drag community, the entire 2S LGBTQIA plus community. So I needed to put that out there. That's it. Are we showing the? I want to show the clip that I sent you with the Muslim woman.
I was going to do the images. I don't think I have the one with the Muslim woman. No.
You didn't get any of my videos there?
No, I told you I didn't.
Holy.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm being judged hard. Hang on. Yeah, Wednesday's going to be definitely. Yeah. Apparently, I have to make up for shit.
He was
Wednesday.
too busy commenting on Twitter with all you guys. See, that's when I go silent, I'm doing work. He was like, "Oh shit, I'm messaging people, and I'm supposed to be doing this." I was
doing a lot.
It's all good. He did a lot. Yeah. Wednesday, he has all the videos we need for Wednesday.
Even exhausted at this point, I still.
Oh, can I put out there for anybody who's watching who sent me videos? Can you do me a solid and can you give me timestamps of the important parts? Because there's 77 cities. I have I should have said that right from the outset because I don't have time to go through everybody's videos. If you sent me videos and you know that there are like pivotal things that have happened, can you just send me timestamps for each video and I'll go through those clips.
Okay, so she just said that, she doesn't have time to go through all the clips and whatnot, and yet she expected me to have all the clips ready right away.
Well,
just take that.
I cut them already for you. I prepared them. All you have to do is upload it. That's all you have to do. I took care of it already, except for the blurring out the faces. You said that shouldn't be a problem. Clearly, it was a problem. It's okay. Wednesday.
Wednesday will be
Please,
awesome.
God, say nothing happens between now and Wednesday so that we can just focus on Wednesday, September 20th on Wednesday. What are we looking? What are you doing?
Just like September 20th that passed versus the Wednesday coming up. Yeah, no, to be honest, I think we all need a break. Unfortunately, we do know that there's going to be some more stuff in regards to the SEC convoy. Some of the fun stuff I do want to go into a bit of a lighter note because we've gone through a fair amount of stuff. I want to go in a bit of a lighter note just to give us all a break because you know what,
we need
a lot of this can be kind of intense. So Deana's had a bit of a secret mission. She's had a bit of a secret desire in regards to something she's got as a sort of a plan that she wants to do. Let me see here. And I'm going to put it up.
Do you notice they changed the picture now? There's a new meme.
So Deana is, she's kind of looking at this as like, especially since the whole June 9th when she became sort of a meme and an icon at the same time. She's decided that, that meme and icon should be represented across Canada.
I want to be everywhere.
So she's now, she's constructed signs, images of, masks of her face, and started sending them across Canada. And I can't recall all the particular locations, so we'll see if you can remember a few of them. So this one's to MJ Pants, and they brought you out, and I can't remember where. I feel it's in the East Coast.
No. MJ Pants is...
Oh, this is Peterborough.
Yes.
Oh, this is Peterborough. So you were in Peterborough.
I was in Peterborough.
Excellent.
And then there's one in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
So this might be Marnes.
Yes, that's Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Excellent. And this one's with Border Windsor, therefore.
Windsor, yeah.
So you cover a bit of Ontario, and you got out there.
Yeah, there's two more out there. I think I had pictures, but it's okay. We'll show them again on Wednesday. I'll do a...
Those are the ones I received, yeah.
I have a woman in Georgia because she is so inspired by what is happening in Canada that we're actually like stepping up and she's in a lot of despair for what she sees happening in her state and in her country. Like the Roe versus Wade was a big one. But anyways, she's asking for my mask. So I'm going to send it out to her because I know my face made it out to the United States too. Libs of TikTok decided that was going to be something that they wanted to post. Whatever else stupid dummies who posted my picture, thinking that it was a thing for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a thing for them, but yeah. So yeah, I made the masks, and I still have more to give out. So just send me your address, and I'll be happy to send out what I have. And then after that, we're going to be working on something different. I actually wanted to sell those masks, and the profits were going to go to um, an organization that works with Indigenous people, but also with the trans community, so that because the trans issue is also a very racist and colonizing issue. And so it's important that, and it's part of the murdered
There's an
and
overlap.
missing. There's definitely an overlap, transsectionality. There's also, it's part of the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls in Two-Spirit. Like so it was important to me that we covered those bases. So there's something. It was supposed to be foam masks. I said that before, but I ordered paper ones by accident because I hate ordering online, and I screwed up. So those ones I'm happy to just give away. But after that, Joe and I are going to be talking to somebody to help us out with a few things, and yeah, it'll be coming out soon. We have some good ideas.
And just sorry to interject. That's also one thing that I saw that I didn't get much press coverage because of the systemic issues in this country. Is the Assembly of First Nations came out against all of these anti-trans educational policies, and I think that's something we should definitely keep in mind as organizers on stolen land, is the fact, like you said, Deana, that this is an issue that is deeply racist, embedded in colonialism, and that, you know, our Indigenous brothers and sisters are very much acutely aware of how deeply this affects them, not only the broader community. So I just wanted to shout out the Assembly of First Nations for really taking a strong stand, much in the same way that the unions did.
Say that again. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's. I mean, it's. There is. I mean, I started learning a bit about what intersectionality is.
Yeah, I called it transsectionality. I'm dumb. I'm tired. Intersectionality. Thanks, Ina.
Yeah, intersectionality is something that's I won't even claim to fully understand, but I understand enough that it is a lot. You know, it's what little I've been explained about it is enough to show me like no, a lot of people could be, and many do face more than one particular thing that could be affecting them, and that's exactly the whole point of regards to if you're a lesbian, that's one thing. If you're a black woman, that's another thing. But if you're a black lesbian, well, that's a whole thing, a whole bunch of things, because it's now two things. And the intersectionality is massive as you start sort of piling it on, and it works against the person that has those. It shouldn't, because most people here are decent. If you're not, then fuck off, stop following us. But if you are, then you don't believe they should be, but sadly they are.
It's so weird to me because I grew up like in school. Like I remember school. School was happy time. I mean, I hated school when I was younger. I wasn't in the right space.
Is it because people told you what to do?
No, it's because I was ADD and gifted, and I was bored as fuck, and I didn't realize that until I was older. But anyway, I got through it. So, but aside from that part, I absolutely loved school because in my world, in my head, with my rose-colored glasses and my personality, I got along with everybody. Like I I genuinely liked everybody. I mean, I liked. There were some people that, you just didn't hang out with or whatever. But never in my wildest dreams would I ever wish for somebody to not exist or, want them hurt or any of those things. Definitely in high school, had a change of, I was a different person because there were people who wanted to show aggression towards me, and you guys see me when somebody touches me, it doesn't end very well, and so that's what that's that's and then there was this anger issue or whatever during that time, but
No.
that worked itself out. Well, I mean, fucking bitches coming at you. What are you gonna do? So it's like, so that's where I say there's a change, because you see that there are people who have hate in their heart who just want to fight and whatever, and you need to match it, or else you get killed or hurt. You know what I mean? And so it's not like when I see people saying, "Oh, well, we need to talk to them or whatever." Okay, you talk. You definitely go ahead and talk. But if I'm going to see somebody coming at me or my friends with aggression, talk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be talking. Like, and I don't think it's reasonable for any human being to expect that.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody's coming at you.
There is place for talking, discussing, and whatnot. There's also places where no, it's not.
And protests are not those places.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and as you pointed out, Colin, it's very much, if you're in this space, you're not there to talk. Therefore, why the fuck should I bother? You're not coming in here in a place where you want to communicate. You're just in this place to just speak. That's it.
Yeah.
We should move forward, and should move forward to today.
Okay.
In regards to what wonderful stuff we came across today. And I will even bring up some images. So, this is a particular shot I actually captured from the front. This was actually a little bit panoramic in regards to the size of the protesters coming
I think
in.
there was more police officers than there were protesters.
There was actually a fair amount of protesters.
And
There
did
was
they
a
put
shit
up a
ton of
solid
cops.
wall?
Yeah.
The cops were like non-stop, like going all the way to the end of the street.
Oh yeah,
They put up a solid line between you, like between the two sides.
They did. There was a bit of a concerning line. So what happened, and you can't quite see it here. This is one particular line of the view. There's three lines technically.
Three, yeah, you're
if
right.
you throw
Three
it,
lines.
you include the sidewalk.
The sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah. So there was three lines that were kind of what there was, because the fourth, it was a box. One line was just a fence of a house, so there's not really a line. The next one was the next two were on each side of crossing a street, and so Toronto Against Fascism was really, really good in regards to locking down, and they had a huge advantage in regards to just the logistics of the street, made it very good as the way that kind of funneled in. They were successful to do one thing Ottawa wasn't, and just because of the logistics, which is they were able to stop. They were able to stop them in a particular point. There could have been a way around, but luckily for them, they didn't do it. Like the fascists did not try to go around it, or didn't.
I think the police weren't letting it happen, to be honest.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Unlike Ottawa, they didn't let it.
Yeah, the police allowed it to happen in Ottawa, and I think in Toronto the police didn't allow it, because when they were coming, they told them that they had to go. And so there was three lines, Colin, but there was also like 4 or 5 relief teams. So it was endless cops. Like there were the cops that were there, right, in their things, but then there were troops, like, who were coming to do shift changes.
Yeah.
There were 2 massive paddy wagons, and a bus, like a ambulance or a first aid bus, which I don't remember seeing in Ottawa.
I think they probably no. We did have paddy wagon in Ottawa.
I'm not talking about the paddy wagon. I don't give a shit about that. I'm talking about the first aid, like the actual
first aid. I don't think they had a first aid one there.
That was really good that they had that.
It might have just not been available for Ottawa.
Just for folks in the chat, this was North York, Toronto today.
North York. Sorry, I keep saying Toronto. You're right. You're right.
It's North York, Scarborough kind of area. It's as I've talked to people who are familiar with the area, they get very touchy in regards to being specific around the area.
The Weather Network says North York.
Thank you, Magic Hand. The Weather Network says no. Well, it's more of our location here, but I don't care. It's around this area here is what we've been told, and I'm okay with the North York / Scarborough. I don't care.
It's all the same. It's all the same to me.
Exactly. I'm like, it's just some other place outside of Ottawa. I don't care. So it was, and it derailed my thought as to where the hell I was going with it.
We were talking about there was no emergency in Ottawa.
Well, I don't think we have emergency vehicles in Ottawa in regards to sort of on-site paramedic for events, and which is kind of interesting and weird at the same time because Ottawa is still significant for events. I mean, it's Parliament. It's the capital of the country. Like, having events in Ottawa is something almost on the daily. Whether it be a protest in Parliament or an event in the market or along the canal, even like just fun festivities. Having one of those paramedic vehicles.
Well, the fun festivities they have. Yes, please. Magic hand. Magic hand. Thank you.
So magic hand is.
I get magic hand.
So magic hand is now.
It's full service. Magic hand is full service.
Full service. Love it.
My heart is right in here. Magic hand is now. It's just horrible.
Stealing her away from him. Thank you.
You'd be sad. So yeah, I mean, we should have definitely those emergency vehicles in regards to events because, again, Ottawa should have
the special events, I was going to say, they actually have a first aid tent, always. Like Tulip Festival and all that other stuff. But,
They have a tent, but I mean, why not have a vehicle? I mean, have something rolling into Parliament or anything else. Mm-hmm. Like, it should be there.
Well, if there's a protest,
I'm just seeing a lot of comments in the chat that Twitch has stalled for them.
What?
It's back. Welcome back, Twitch users. Do not know what happened. We apologize for it. And probably missed out the entire magic hand thing. Where just Deana's now stealing my magic hand.
I'm stealing magic hand away from.
Yeah.
Magic hand, you made the video pause.
It was me. I did it on purpose.
It was.
Yeah. So here we are. So back to the whole point of where we're at. Sorry?
Freedom Baby.
Yes, welcome Freedom Baby. So back to the whole point where we're at here before we sidetrack massively here. So this is the event here. There was a fair number, and I feel it peaked out around 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I want to say about 10, 11. There was a fair amount of numbers. They stacked in pretty deep in there. And of course, they had some wonderful signage, as you'd expect, of all sorts. And again, it goes back to the points we've been discussing in regards to these guys don't care. They're not here to discuss. They're not here to have conversations, as Billboard Chris is here, just claims to be doing. They're just here to promote
anger and hate.
And in some cases, as they're doing here, and also a little bit politicizing because they're also promoting for PPC. So, Billboard Chris, always in the pastels, variety of colors, still creepy looking with the suit.
He likes to wear pink and blue, pastel pink and blue. You know what colors those are. I mean...
Well, he'll only wear 2 colors.
Yeah, the trans colors. Jeez.
It's the trans colors, though.
Oh, is
pastel blue and pastel pink are trans colors, and that's what he wears.
I never even knew that. I never realized
what
that.
I'm saying is the subtle ain't so subtle. Like...
Yeah. That's a good point. Damn. And of course, Save Canada, who's constantly there, as we have the entire gaggle of Save Canada and Daisy.
Oh my God, you know what my daughter said? I told her that the Save Canada kids were there today and that Daisy was there. And she goes, of course Daisy was there. Wherever the Save Canada kids are, Daisy is there. And I'm like, the fucking 9-year-old's got this shit pinned down. So that's right, Camilla. You're right. Wherever the Save Canada kids are, Daisy's there too.
So the 9-year-old's smart enough to realize these little minor things. Just saying. And a few collectives.
Okay. Are you showing the Fox one?
Yeah.
That would be the Fox one you see right now.
I'm sitting there watching a live stream from one of the right-wing dudes. Annoying as fuck. And he's commenting on Wednesday we had a drag king that was there, and he's like, oh, look at that mustache. Obviously it was not a real mustache, like it's art. And just going on and on about it. And then he moves up to the hill and some idiot in a fox suit is there, and do you think he has anything to say about how ridiculous that looks?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just
One person commented on the fox suit then said, like, I'm just glad he finally cleaned the fucking thing.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you. I was
it doesn't
just
even
about to
look
say,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look like it's been through the wash, to be honest.
No, this one, no. Like, from what we've seen, no, it looked bad in previous things.
Yeah,
No, it was bad. But
Pedo Fox.
Pedo Fox, yeah. That's not wrong. Yeah. Let's see if we make that stick. Sure, he'll enjoy it. There's some other images I captured of him that was just really, really disturbing. I've already sent it to some people to mess with their heads. Message me if you want me to gross you out. We'll go with that.
Now you're making me worry.
You should.
Gross,
You should.
Gross. Stop it.
You should. This one may be familiar to many people. Mr. Hilbrandt, who is also in attendance. Followed by Mr. Maxime Bernier.
Stop putting Mr. in front. They don't deserve it. Just say their names.
I say it sarcastically.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy my sarcasm. This is how I...
Ew! He's not a mister. He's a blister.
Followed by Blister Rob Primo.
I saw that guy in the flesh. Right away I could pick him out. I mean, ew, what did I just say? Pick him out. And I was like, Rob, fuck off. Like, don't even, you dumbass. I mean, pictures don't even do him justice, but that's a funny picture. That is a funny picture. But he looks like a fucking...
Convite?
Not just a convite. Like, he looks like he's from a J.R. Tolkien book. And he's like one of the, like... Anyway, moving on.
Say he's one of the trolls?
Maybe.
Yeah. And then, people like Greg
Wycliffe.
Wycliffe. This is where he's complaining because they lost.
They lost.
They did. So Toronto was successful in regards to, because again, they wanted to have their little parade going up and down schools because for some reason...
They were pissed, actually.
Yeah. They were pissed that they were not able to do that. I'm sure there's a whole Daisy video about, how the police failed them, because why not? But yeah, so they're pissed, they're crying, and the school went out. All the kids went out, and they were basically ran into Toronto anti-fascism, who had the open, welcoming message of all your identities are more than loved and welcomed. Be who you want to be. And there was even a message from one of the organizers that said we saw one particular, I think it was a non-binary student coming out.
Yes, it was a student who came out with a non-binary flag.
Right.
And came and walked over and joined us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
I maybe they're non-binary. I'm not sure, but they had the flag anyways. So.
They did. They had the flag, and I think they alluded that they were non-binary. Obviously, not trying to doubt or anything.
Yeah.
And just it made the impact.
Yeah.
And I just also really quickly want to add what made a huge impact, at least from my perusing of this online, is Black Bloc. It's
Black Bloc.
Not everyone is very comfortable with doing Black Bloc, but it is an extremely effective tool, and it scares the shit out of the fash. So for those who are curious about it or want to learn more, there's lots of information online, and they can get in touch with me. My Twitter handle, I think, is on my video screen here. But yeah, Black Bloc is an extremely effective tactic, not only to protect yourself, but also to scare the shit out of them.
It actually ends up protecting everybody because everybody looks the same, right? And so, I feel like, I mean, Joe and I, we were early. And I know that, and then we saw two others, remember? And then we saw two others that came, and we knew they, because they were wearing the same stuff or whatever, and they were sitting down. And we walked by, and then this woman with her dog, she starts taking pictures. Yeah, cool.
So if you're in, I will divulge that I was in Black Bloc, like absolute textbook Black Bloc. And Max,
that's okay. Don't get
and you were a little bit less.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a funny thing in regards to if you're in Black Bloc and you come across somebody else's Black Bloc that you've never met, you're like, "What's up?"
Yep.
We just know. We know. As opposed to just coming across somebody else in the wild that's not even close to Black Bloc and just not understanding it. Just that's it. So, you know what? I will actually see if I can get you something of. It'll take me a minute to show you guys for those who are not familiar with Black Bloc. But the short of a Black Bloc is it's a fashion to be nondescript. I think is the shortest way of describing it. The more description to it is you cover your face with something that will be very plain and usually black. Hence the black parts or Black Bloc. And then either a black head bandana or a black a do-rag or a black hat. In some cases also a hood with a black shirt, t-shirt, sweater, long sleeve, preferably long sleeve. Again, the entire thing is to conceal as much of you as possible in a very generic black appearance. Also adding in sunglasses to hide your... So everything about you just becomes this... The principle of this is to turn you into a black silhouette. And so you become very generic. So if you have a line of Black Bloc people, it's just a bunch of Black Bloc silhouettes, which is very difficult to A, identify, and B,
photograph,
document, docs, do anything with, because they're all just so generic. It's very, very difficult. So once you're in Black Bloc, one of the other things I noticed is that you tend to end up to the front of the line because you are nondescript.
Yeah.
And so you will have that kind of sort of
the other thing
request.
that North York had was that they were very how do I say this? Like, everybody locked arms, right? So you were forming a tight bond with the person beside you. You're holding, the flags were one long curtain or what have you to make sure that there was no opportunity for anybody to get through that wasn't supposed to get through, and also pictures again. Like, take pictures. You're going to be getting our messages that are all over the flags, and that's about all you're going to get. And then you're going to hear the chants and stuff like that. So you're right, Colin. It's absolutely effective. It like I've definitely, and Joe could probably say the same. The journey through activism has been a very interesting and learning. Like, there's a lot to learn, and there's many different reasons to do many different things, and they all matter at different times. This particular protest, it was important that Joe and I were nobodies.
Yeah.
Like, we were with everybody. We were part of that, and nobody knew who we were. And that the focus was specifically on all of us being there to stop them from moving forward and to be louder and so on, right? So there was no little focal point or whatever. The bigger protest that we had in Ottawa, for sure, it was great to trigger a bunch of people and put my mask out there. Like, that was the time and place, in my opinion. I mean, people could disagree with me, but that was the time and place for me to do that. And so,
Well, especially for, like, I think and because the people are going to disagree with you in regards to that, and I'm going to put it out right now. The Ottawa event, regardless, like, we showed up with about 500 people.
Yeah.
We went there, police lines were established and whatnot. The outcome of the event wasn't going to change, no matter what anybody did there. It was such a large scale event that everybody was in their own minds. In a large space, no matter what you did, like, you danced around there in a chicken outfit. It didn't matter. This is just the event that was there. The things were scheduled. Police trying to shrink down the area a bit so that the fash could get out to do their little, hate parade. That was just what's going to happen. Period. Nobody's going to make any effect onto it. As opposed to, especially with the Toronto, this particular event, they did have a smaller group compared to the protesters coming in. And they did do a fantastic job in regards to figuring out how to deal with that as well as possible. And especially who Deana and I are, we know that most of them know us. Like, most of the photos I show you here right now in regards to, like Greg knows who I am. Like Save Canada.
Greg Primo, Save Canada.
Fox guy.
All these guys.
Boiler.
Yeah. I mean, with the exception of these two, they all know. These guys all know who we are. Even Billboard Chris knows who we are. Yeah. Like, it's so we understand that if we're known and we're seen, we're going to cause an effect. And that's fine in the sense of, if that's what you want, cool.
Yeah, but they're not there. Because we could have made it would have been more dangerous if they were like trying.
It could absolutely, but and I think it would have been one of those things that we both know that if we were known, we would have to leave that particular area. We had no choice. Yeah. We would have to leave that area.
Right. So I think it's important on that note, because we're going to be ending soon, right? Or do we have other stuff?
Just one or two other things here in regards to.
Well, the important thing is that there are people usually organizing these things, and if you're new to this, it's not enough for you to just show up, because that could be dangerous, because there's important information that they know that you need to know.
Yeah.
And we've seen some people put themselves in precarious situations because they just thought it was a protest because they heard that there was going to be a protest. Well, these protests are not just protests anymore.
Yeah.
So check in with whoever's organizing or find the community organization that is organizing, because they always put out the information that you need to know, and you meet with them, and you don't try to go out on your own. You meet where everybody is, and then figure out the lay of the land, understand what you're about to do, and then if you feel comfortable doing something different, well, then that's on you. But you should start at the beginning instead of, trying to skip steps if you're doing this.
So I'm going to say that particular thing is actually something on you and me to do.
Oh, no, I'm talking about...
Let me finish.
Yeah. Are you talking about us putting out the information to people?
Yeah, because here's...
Yes and no. I'm just talking to new people who are trying to go out that hear that there's a protest and just like, okay, well, we're going to go out there and do it. There's too many protests in Canada. We're talking to like a lot of Canadians here.
You're absolutely right.
We're not going to be able to give everybody the information.
No, and I'm not talking about specifically to every specific point, but I feel we're starting to get a bit of an audience in regards to people, especially people who want to get involved.
Yeah.
We've people watch streams and other stuff in regards to what we were doing, and we're inspiring to some
we're
people
also
to
on
jump
TikTok, just so you guys know.
Me a little bit. No, but it's so we need more people.
Yeah.
We need more people to come out. Colin will say it. We will say it. We all will say it, that we need more people out, because the more people we have out, you're the first one to say it, which is the greater the numbers, the safer we all are.
100%.
Nobody here at this table will disagree.
Yeah.
Or on the chat, or anywhere else. The bigger we are, the better we are, the stronger we are.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And so, understandably...
And the more pissed off they get.
Absolutely. They do get very pissed off. Now, if we are in very large numbers, and not everybody's quite as safe, that's fine. You've got that large mass to do that. But we don't have that now, so we need to work to get to that point. And since we have a fair enough following in regards to it, and this could be something useful, we need to give the information out to people in regards to, this is how you're safe, this is how you protect. Follow these basic guidelines in regards to things like Canadian Anti-Hate Network's guide from private events.
We'll tell you where you need to look too.
Yeah.
Because we're not inventing this. Like, we are learning still.
Yeah.
We know the people who know. So we
and all sorts of different things in regards to, if you want to get there to conceal identity, this is how you black block.
Yeah.
If you're going to be there for a fair amount of time at the, this is what you want to have in your backpack to make sure you have all the things, like water.
Look at the
some
snacks we could have brought with us.
I
We're at an
know.
Airbnb, and I just realized that there's a chips and chocolate and snacks tray.
And my horrible thing is I did not have a black bag that was anonymous. That was a big failure on my part. But, things like bringing bags, bringing food, bringing medication, making sure you have the legal defense phone number on you should you need it. I don't know if I can show it quite right. It's a 416 number. Anyways,
it's on his arm. Trust him.
Yeah, it's there. Right there. You can kind of see it there. Now you can see it.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. And this is kind of an interesting one that we got, that I learned from Toronto. So many of these protests, the organizers will have a legal group that kind of protects. So we know about in Ottawa that we've got one particular lawyer that assists, that is fantastic and highly regarded. I'm not sure about Peterborough. Colin might be more familiar. In Toronto, they have a group called MDC. And so they all have numbers. And in Toronto, it's like, all right, we're going to mark down the number on you. So should you be arrested, well, there's the number. Just call them up. You're good to go. Don't talk to the cops till you get the lawyer call. And that's it.
The cops, yeah.
Don't talk to the cops. Call the lawyer, and then let the lawyer take care of that.
Yeah, and these are all, I mean, I kind of take advantage of this knowledge just because I've kind of been around the circuit a few times. This is all information that is available through various sources. So if you are curious, please reach out. And some of this can sound, especially for the novice, for the first person, if this is your first time coming out for something, a lot of this can sound really scary. Like Black Bloc can seem really intimidating, and writing legal numbers on your arms to make sure you're safe. So it's really important to balance that with what you are comfortable with. So if that's just showing up with your rainbow flag and, just being there, bodies are fundamentally important. But if you do feel more comfortable, maybe using your privilege as a cishet person or a white person to maybe be closer to the front of the line, there is so much information and there are so many resources out there to help not only keep you safe. This is why I really like the idea of Black Bloc, because yes, if you dress in Black Bloc to show up to a protest, it keeps your identity safe. So if you're being filmed by the fash, or if you're involved in an altercation and the police won't necessarily be able to identify you because your tattoos aren't showing or your piercings aren't showing, or my delicious mustache isn't showing. Thank you, Joe. Like that can,
Or the beard.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you should take this in stages. If you haven't joined before, if you've been paying attention but haven't joined these movements, take it slow. It's like, that's also what I say to a lot of young trans and non-binary people, is take it slow, step by step. There is so much love and support for you out there, and there's information and resources for you out there. So reach out if you're concerned about your safety, or even just showing up. Showing up is enough, and then anything above and beyond that is more than enough.
Yeah, and as somebody who is literally just did Black Bloc for the first time today, and I took the effort in regards to making sure to get as effective as possible. They had, and as somebody who's known to them, and also as Deana, who also went for disguise, which was not Black Bloc, but disguise in regards to other tricks that we discussed too later on.
I was Llewellyn.
She was Llewellyn. There's a whole term to the whole thing. Biggest point to the whole thing is we went in there, nobody, and again, we went to the Viper's Pit of a lot of people who are aware of who we are, especially this one right here.
Well, we even said hi to a friend of ours, and she didn't even recognize us. So
people, well, yeah, it's true. We said, well, the friend recognized me because I was talking to them. But yeah, I said, oh yeah, and by the way, so is right there behind you. And they turned around and went, oh my God. So it is highly effective. So if you're not sure, and even to myself, I'm like, I'm not sure. It feels like they're still going to see me because I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, I still see me. But remember, you see yourself because you know yourself. It was incredible. I walked in there and there was actual people. I'm going to tell you guys something a little revealing that went to them. I had Nick about this far from me. Nick knows me.
Too. Yeah.
Nick Alexander knows me. And he smiled at me and still had no clue who I was.
Yeah.
It's that effective.
I love it. Like, I've gone in and I've been Anaid. I've been Stacey Curtis. Mm-hmm. I've been Deana, and multiple Deanas because I change my look all the time. But I've also been now Llewellyn. And so, fuck these guys. I'm smarter than they are. We're all smarter than they are. And yeah, to your point, Colin, you're right. Like, what we're talking about now can seem a bit heavy, but at the same time, what I'm seeing is kids coming in full of piss and vinegar, which I love because they have tons of energy, but they just need a little bit of understanding about what, like, be full of piss and vinegar, but understand that it's not the same internet world that you're used to. And most of these kids aren't on Twitter and have no idea how disgusting and vile that place is, and actually quite dangerous that place is. And they don't know that that's where they're going to end up. And so it's like,
with the rest of us.
Yeah, well, come out, but you know, when you come out, just wear a mask at the beginning and whatever, and then understand what is happening or whatever. Like even just a N95 or whatever it is, and then gauge how comfortable you are by starting to reveal yourself after if you're okay with it. I knew from the get-go because I was, 44, 45 years old when I started doing this. I've already had enough life experience to know what the outcome might be. But if I was 20, it's not that I didn't know, it's that I thought I wouldn't give a shit. But you should give a shit at 20 because you still need to establish where you're going to work, if you can get a job, and if you're within the queer community or the racialized queer community, you're probably having a hard time finding work in the first place.
Yeah.
And you don't want to make that more difficult, or whatever. So, like, there's a lot. There's
a huge difference between your 20s to somebody like me who's in his 50s. I'm more than established.
There's a reason I don't work for the government. I mean, people think I'm getting paid by Trudeau, but there was a period 2 years ago where I was like, I want to change in my life. Like, I want to do something different. And my friends kept sending me over jobs that I could have done really well through the government, working with an Indigenous housing portfolio or whatever. And I'm like, I could totally do this, but that means I'd have to shut the hell up, and I can't do that. So I'm not, like, that's my soul, and I'm not trading my soul in for that.
I don't think she's capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Chuds would have loved if I did, because then I could get fired, and they could have something over me. And so then I would have to cover up, and I would have to make sure that, I was anonymous. But now I do not. And so that privilege that I have, I definitely love exercising it. But at the same time, I respect the work that other people are doing in their cities to ensure that they take care of whatever danger is in front of us. And so that's why we need to check in with the organizers and make sure that we are working with them and not making it more difficult. And I'm sure I've made people's lives difficult, especially at the beginning of my activism. And that's true too. But that's me now speaking from experience and letting people know, like,
it's and it's not so much of a defense as much as sort of a reason. I mean, when Deana and I both started, we started with Tupac. The rules were very, very simple there. It's like, we're dealing with a bunch of chuds.
Show up and berate them because they're a bunch of fucking idiots.
It was there was very low threat. There was it was a very low thing, and it was just us sort of versus them. We watched them and documented. It was a very, very different experience. It was kind of junior level kind of when it comes to activism. I mean, these guys are they're squatting a building, and we're just making fun of them because
we wanted the convoy out because they had already done enough to the citizens of Ottawa.
Yeah. So, but there was no black bloc leader. There was nothing else like that. It was a very different kind of thing. So as we evolved based on how the situation evolved. Like we saw the end of Tupac, which was felt in hindsight, it's kind of the end of the whole mandate, anti-vax, mask.
All that stuff.
I'm not saying it's gone. It's just that was the end of the big push and the hoopla for it. Because shortly after that, that's when we started seeing drag story time. That's when we started seeing the trans movements and so on and so forth. There was a couple other things, and I keep pulling back, pointing out to during that time where they kind of try to show to like, oh, well, we need to go fight the guns. Well, that particular story is not sticking, so moving on. They tried to do, I think, one or two other things too, and they just didn't stick. It was just the anti-trans thing that, like, no, that's got people happy about, horrifyingly. So that's what they went with. Because it could have easily gone like anti-trans.
Because it's a lot easier. The other stuff that they were picking on were things like
Very specific.
vaccines and WEF, and like they're big they're out of reach things. When you start focusing on a marginalized group that is standing right in front of you, it is much easier to bring people's attention to that and start like easily, putting pictures out of context all over the internet, saying, oh, my cousin was this. Like they did that with the vaccine injuries, but it was like far too whatever. So now they're just keep showing us the same comic book pictures and like women or drag queens dancing in some place and maybe they're not even drag queens. Like there's this one picture that's going around. It's not even a drag queen. He's just a really like the top performer dancer in Brazil, I think, or something. Like it's just the most ridiculous shit, and it's just recycled over and over again. But it's easy because it's like, see, doesn't this image disgust you? You should be disgusted to all people who represent this community, right? Like
I still to this day keep saying the same thing, which is the dragophobia, because this is where we started with, was the entry level starter to the entire homophobia.
Yeah.
And Colin's reaction right now is just
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, they've been looking for wedge issues. What worked in Florida and other states in the United States was trans people in sports. That was especially particularly trans women, because they don't seem to give a shit about trans men in sports. But
he's talking about Manuel Perez and the third straight win in boxing. A trans man kicked the fuck out of three different biological champions or whatever, and has won their third match. Why is nobody saying it's an unfair advantage for this person?
Because this comes back to the point about intersectionality, right? Which is, women are already at a disadvantage. If you're a trans woman, you're at this intersection of two different axes of oppression, right? So, and to just the broader point that we're making, is they are looking and they have found, unfortunately, the issue that is tangible and that sticks, and that is working to divide, the common people into, instead of paying attention to the broader issues of like underfunding of healthcare and education and things like this. So
yeah.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So I mean, they're going for this simple, low-hanging fruit that these guys seem to be going for. That, and I don't even want to say low-hanging fruit, because low-hanging fruit still is fruit. This is low-hanging. I don't know what the word is. I feel that it's something they want.
Covered leaves. Low-hanging turd-covered leaves.
With candy sprinkles on it, because
squirrel pea.
She'll make it gross. But my point is, low-hanging fruit still feels like there's some sort of value to it. This is not even value because it's not even real. So I think Keith is not too far in regards to low-hanging fucking crab apples, because nobody wants that shit. Because it is low-hanging, easy to get, but nobody wants it. Like, and nobody believes it's sort of, there is no value to it in believing it, even though these guys absolutely believe it's the truth. Like, none of it's truth. Like, drag queens are indoctrinating kids. No, not even the closest thing. People are indoctrinating kids to be gay. No, if that was the case, if you could make somebody gay, Chris Hemsworth would be gay. Period. End of story. That's it. That's all. The fact that he's straight should be killing that argument completely.
Yeah, I keep seeing teachers being like, if we could indoctrinate kids, we'd be indoctrinating them into wearing deodorant.
Yeah. And doing their homework.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like, but somehow you're going to convince them to put themselves into the most marginalized group, to be scared for their existence and their lives. And nobody can say that trans, like, just because we're bringing awareness to the group doesn't mean that they are in a better place than anybody else. They're still like worried about getting the shit kicked out of them, and because it's actually more true than anything else that happens in your crazy world. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. What the fuck?
Agreed. What the fuck is probably the shortest version of that whatsoever.
I think that just summed up the last couple of hours. Is what the fuck?
Yeah.
I think what the fuck it is pretty much the short of it. We're out of the content here, and it's probably wrapping up. And you probably want to eventually go to sleep, Colin. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
No,
Colin.
thanks so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I just want to reiterate one more time is
absolutely.
especially after this week, and especially going forward, is just, even if you don't know them well, even if they're just a Twitter follower, reach out to those trans and queer folk that you may kind of know, or even that you know well. Just send them a message. It doesn't have to be an "Are you okay?" It just has to say, "I love you. Thank you for being around, and you are supported."
You took that from me for you today, Colin.
Great.
I love you, and I love the work that you do, and I think you're awesome.
That's so kind. And I'll just do a cheap little plug after that. My Twitter handle's on the stream. So if you feel like following me, I tweet all kinds of both, like, I would like to say informative things, but also a bunch of fun nonsense things.
Colin's
it's there.
awesome.
It's hard to follow. And just really quickly, this conversation obviously took place on stolen Indigenous land, so we should be just mindful of that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for having me. I really, really appreciate it. This has been
Colin.
We love having you. We're quite happy. I feel it's the second time, or did I mess it up? But every single time, absolutely enjoy having conversation.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
No, the conversation we had was in private.
That was
sorry.
a private one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was private.
Damn. But it was just as great.
It was.
It was.
Good.
It is. Still second to your lunch with you. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah, right. That was a lot of fun. And thank you both. You've been like, I think your journey together and separately has really shown how activism can start from a really humble place, and your willingness to continue to learn is something that I think all people should kind of adopt as they, whether or not they're entering into activism for the first time or if they've been it before. Like I said, your willingness to learn and grow and listen is really, really inspiring.
And it's one that I feel that I want to sort of to sort of bring out to people too, in regards to grow with us. Like, again, obviously we didn't know everything up to a fair amount of point. We've learned a shit ton in a year. If you're uncertain and whatnot, I know I've had a few people come out to me in regards to asking, like, how do I do this? How do I get involved? How do I get started? I think you've had a couple of people too.
Yeah, quite a bit of people who've decided that Wednesday was going to be their first time. Other times were their first time. And you know what? That's the other thing. You come out, you're not ever going to not come out again. Because at that moment when you come out, you realize how damn important your body is to that place. And that your voice is to being there. You will know, like I've said it over and over again. You get there, the energy is completely different than what you're seeing online. And what pisses you off online will piss you off a lot more when you see it face to face.
Those are this one.
Just one more thing. Thank you so much, chat. And I did see that someone just plugged Danny Taro's Legal Defense Fund. So I just wanted to throw that out there really quickly. Joe's got all the information on that, but I would really appreciate anyone who found this conversation inspiring to, if they have the means and ability, to donate to Danny Taro's Legal Defense Fund.
It's the top of my link tree. You always go to my profile, the very top there, or close to the top. Because I think it was the top might have been replaced by the September 20th activity, which I'll be knocking off. But yeah, Danny Taros is at the very top. If you can, by all means, I think everybody here will be promoting. Oh, thank you, Magic Hand. Give what you can. I need to go and give another update to give that a little bit of push, because I think we passed the $2,000 marker, and that needs to be recognized for sure.
Yes.
any help for Danny? Absolutely. He was a wonderful streamer, wonderful voice.
Yeah, I want him back. I'm being selfish. I want him back.
Yeah.
Bring back Danny.
She's being selfish, and I agree with it. I don't care if I'm being selfish too. I agree with it too, and I'm going to speak for Colin. Colin wants Danny back too.
100%.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah. Period. And I think a fair amount of the chat here, we all want to have Danny back because Danny.
Yeah. We don't have a closing clip, eh?
We do.
Oh, well, let's get to it.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much again for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming out. And for the rest of you, enjoy the following clip. Thanks, guys. Good night, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Because of his unwillingness to reveal his own identity, Victor's story stands or falls on the credibility of the tape he supplied. Here, exclusively for the first time anywhere, is the uncut, uninterrupted alien interview tape, shown in its entirety in real time.
Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberal government